Hi folks, today I want to show you a fun little project that I made when I decided that I needed to be able to control the lights in my house, such as the one above me, with a lever in Minecraft. So let's get into it. So as you can see here, I am in Minecraft. If you're familiar with it, great. If not, then I'll explain a little bit what's going on. So basically, what we have here is redstone. You can lay these out, and it creates basically what's more or less an electrical circuit. You turn it on, you can see the circuit lights up, and anything that's connected to that is powered by redstone lights up as well, such as this little lamp right here. So I'm going to, my goal here is to make it so this light represents the light above me, and to do that I'm going to take advantage of a service that I've used for a long time for automating various different things. That service is called If This Then That, or IFTTT, which is something where you create these recipes that can do various things, like being able to tell Google Assistant to preheat your oven if you have a smart oven, or sending an email notification if your robot vacuum gets stuck. It can do lots of things, but I know that it has an integration with the Philips Hue, which are the type of smart lights I have in my house. So I was like, well, this ought to be a good platform for this. But the first thing I needed to look at was, well, does it support some kind of webhooks? And indeed it does. So we're going to go ahead and start creating an applet, which I guess they're called now. I thought they were called recipes. Maybe that's old. Anyway, so we're going to create a recipe, and you can see, an applet, and you can see, create your own, if this, then that. So the if this is whatever's triggering it. In this case, we are going to trigger it with a webhook. Now, webhooks are fairly simple things, basically just a URL endpoint that you can send a JSON payload to, and then whatever's hosting that endpoint can decide what to do with it, if anything. And now this lets you, these are called maker webhooks. I don't know why they don't say that here, but it does show up later. But we can send a webhook with a web request with a JSON payload or without, but in this case we'll go with one. I don't know if we're actually going to use the payload, but we'll just choose this one anyway. So we need to give it a name. Can't use spaces, so let's say we want to turn that light on, so let's call it light on. So I'll create the trigger, and then we want to tell it to turn on one of my lights. Let's see, turn on lights, and I have a lot of lights, but we'll choose the office. That's the room I'm in. I'll create the action, and then I could receive notification. Let's see, turn. Yeah, see, it calls it a maker event. I don't know why, but I'm not going to change the title. So yeah, we'll finish, and now this should be set up to turn on my office lights when it receives that webhook event. Now, obviously, I haven't set up the webhook event yet, because that's what I'm here to show you. You can see that I turn this on. The lights in my office do not turn on. So let's talk about what it takes to do that. So I made a plugin, and this is for Java Minecraft, called Redstone If This Then That, or IFTTT. So I've already downloaded this and installed it on my server. It's fairly straightforward if you are a developer, I guess. You need to run the setup to add your if this and that API key, and after you do that, you can use the various commands to create triggers in the game world. So first we need to get that webhook set up. So here are the this is the webhook maker webhooks page. So webhook is integration, and I need to get my API key. So I can do that. I'll go to settings here. This is my key here. I could go here and it'll show you a little bit more about how to use this. You can see, these are the things you can do. So I'm going to copy this key. By the way, don't share this key with anybody, or else they're going to be able to control your recipes too. You can regenerate this key, which is what I'll be doing after this, so that you can't control it. But anyway, this is just a demo. So let's go back into the game, and we're going to run the command to set this up, just like so. So we've added our Webhook API key, and now we need to set up the trigger in here. So I'm going to type a command, IFTTT, trigger create. We're going to give it a name, which needs to be, this name needs to be the same name as I specified here. So I'll do light on, and then the condition. Now the plugin supports various conditions, it supports certain expressions, but there are some convenience expressions here, such as on, which means that the redstone was off and now it is on. So we'll just go with that. So I've created a trigger on this block. So when this block turns on, it should trigger that recipe. Let's see if it works. Hey, nice. Now if I turn it off, nothing happens, because that requires another applet and another trigger. So let's go ahead and make that real quick. So we'll create another, it's going to be webhook with the payload, JSON payload. We'll call this one light off. Create the trigger, choose the that. We'll go back to Philips Hue. Turn off lights. We'll do office lights. Create the action. Okay, if we receive the payload, then turn off lights. Okay, finish. All right, so now we've got the applets set up. So I've got both here. We go back into the game, and we're going to set up another trigger and call this one light off. And choose the off expression, and then flip the switch, and voila. So yeah, now it turns on and off with the redstone. It's got a bit of a delay, that has to do with if this then that and the way their service works. If I could have done this again, which I didn't feel like doing again, but if I did, I might have chosen something else, because that delay is kind of unfortunate. So anyway, let's talk about a little bit about how this works. Basically, we just use, so I wrote the plugin in Java, and we're just using a HTTP URL connection, and we give it the correct URL, which explains in here, what the details of this are. You put in the event and your key, and then you pass it the JSON body. Now, like I said, there are some more advanced use cases with the plugin, such as using the redstone power range of 0 to 15. So you could potentially write something like this to say, or this say new is greater than old. So like as long as the power increases, then you could trigger the recipe. But again, I'm just using for this video the on and off conditions. So anyway, there's no real data that the payload data does not get used in the example, but there is the possibility of using payload data from these webhooks in your recipes or applets. So anyway, we have a HTTP URL connection. We open it up for that URL, which is just this string with the event name plugged in and the API key, and then we make a post request and write our JSON payload, which let's take a look at that payload real quick. The payload's really simple in here. it's basically just a 3 JSON value payload um, based on this example here. I think you could do it with anything, but you know, depending on what your then is in your applet, it depends on it determines what you can actually make use of. And I believe when I made this, the Philips Hue used these 3. So yeah, it's a fairly simple ordeal. You know, it just we trigger that based on the Minecraft API that I'm using, or Bucket API as it's called, and then just send the event via HTTP connection. So yeah, it was a fun project. I had intended to maybe make it go the other direction too, so that I could turn off the lights and it would, you know, control this light in the game. But that ended up being, well, it's not maybe not impossible, but it was harder than I was willing to give it time for, considering this was just for fun. So yeah, I hope you liked it. If you're interested to know more, you can look up the Redstone If This Then That plugin, or Redstone IFTTT. Try it out yourself, and yeah, enjoy.